Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany, and today we will be talking about how you can easily increase your vegetable and fruit intake. I will also be showing you one simple yet delicious spring roll recipe that you can make at home. Canada's Food Guide recommends that 1/2 of our plate be made up of vegetable and fruit. Fresh, frozen, juiced, dried, and even canned forms all count and can reduce your risk of obesity and chronic disease. Despite their well-established benefits, research suggests that most post-secondary students consume inadequate amounts of vegetables and fruit. Vegetable consumption is especially lower. A common barrier to adequate fruit and veggie consumption is gaps in food skills. Several studies suggest that food preparation skills are declining globally. Having adequate food skills impacts food choices and eating behaviors, both of which contribute to healthy eating. And that's where today's food demonstration comes in. I will be going over some food skills, namely knife skills, as well as whisking liquids. With these food skills, we will make veggie spring rolls served with a dipping sauce. My goal today is to walk you through the process in detail, and once you have the hang of it, you can customize the fillings to your liking. By the end of the video, you will have filled some of these gaps in necessary food skill knowledge, which will hopefully further encourage you to increase your fruit and veg intake and to eat the rainbow. Before we begin, take off any watches, bracelets, and rings. Make sure your fingernails are clean and trimmed. Roll up your sleeves to your elbows and tie your hair up if you need to. First things first, wash your hands with soap and warm water, scrubbing for at least 20 seconds. Make sure you get under your fingernails. When you're done, turn off the top with your elbow and dry your hands well. Next, with some all-purpose cleaner and a clean washcloth, clean your countertop following an S pattern to collect any dirt or crumbs. For the spring rolls, you'll need some rice vermicelli noodles, toasted sesame oil, fine sea salt, lettuce, red cabbage, carrots, Persian cucumbers or mini cucumbers, green onions, fresh mint, and rice paper. For the dipping sauce, you'll need 1/3 of a cup of nut butter, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 2 tablespoons of tamari or soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of honey or maple syrup, 1 tablespoon of toasted sesame oil, 2 cloves of garlic, minced or pressed, and 2 to 3 tablespoons of water as needed. The first thing we'll be doing is cooking the vermicelli noodles. To do this, bring a pot of water to boil and cook according to package directions. The noodles should be cooked until al dente. After about 8 minutes, drain, rinse them under cool water, and return them to the pot. It should amount to 1 cup when cooked. Off the heat, toss the noodles with 1 teaspoon of sesame oil and 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and set aside. Next, make sure to wash all of your vegetables with some warm water. To clean softer produce like herbs, I made sure to soak them for at least 1 minute beforehand. After washing, let the produce air dry. I placed everything in a draining basket, but you could also blot them dry with a clean towel. Before we start chopping, make sure to secure your cutting board. I'm placing a damp kitchen towel underneath to create traction between the board and the counter. This will prevent it from moving around. Without further ado, let's get chopping. To prepare the butter lettuce, gently tear the leaves into pieces that are roughly the size of your palm. We'll need about 1 cup. Set that aside. To prepare the red cabbage, start by removing the tough outer layers. With a large chef's knife, slice off the root of the cabbage. Cut the cabbage in half through the stem, then cut into quarters. Next, remove the root of the cabbage by cutting it out diagonally. Using a circular motion with the knife, thinly slice the cabbage in the shorter direction. We'll need about 1 cup. Set that aside. Next up are the carrots. Place a carrot tip-side down on the cutting board and lift it up at a 45-degree angle. Peel the carrot starting from the middle and go back and forth and up and down the carrot, rotating as you go. When you get halfway around, flip it over and do the same for the other side. Trim the top of the carrot off as well as the tip, and then discard. Cut the carrot into 3 equal-sized pieces. The recipe calls for julienne carrots, which looks just like matchsticks. To achieve this type of cut, start by squaring it off, taking off each of the sides. Any of the scraps can be used in a stock. Next, cut it into planks and stack the slices on top of each other. Then, cut through the layers to create the matchsticks. You're going to want them to be about 1/8 of an inch thick. Repeat this for the other carrot and set that aside. The cucumbers will be prepared in the same way the carrots were. I'm choosing not to peel my cucumbers since that's where most of the nutrients are stored. prepare the green onions, remove any outer layers that look wilted. Using the chef's knife, chop off the root end and the tough part of the green end. Line up the green onions and thinly slice them using a circular motion with your knife. We'll need about 1/4 cup. To prepare the mint, remove the leaves you want and discard the stems. Stack the leaves on top of each other. Next, carefully roll the stack. We will be cutting the mint into ribbons. This technique is known as a mint chiffonade. Using your knife, cut the bundled leaves into thin slices crosswise. Remember to keep your fingers curled under so that you don't accidentally cut them. Repeat this until you have 1/4 cup. To make our herb mix, combine the green onion and mint. Mix, then set aside. We'll also need some minced garlic for our dipping sauce. Using your knife, cut the root and the tip off of the clove. Place the knife flat on top of the clove and bash it. Then, cut all of the garlic into strips. Pile it and rock the knife back and forth using a chopping motion. Mince to your liking and repeat for the other clove. To make the dipping sauce, in a small bowl, whisk together the 2 cloves of garlic, 1/3 cup of nut butter, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of honey, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, and 2 to 3 tablespoons of water. Fill a shallow pan with 1 inch of water. Lay out a slightly damp, lint-free towel next to the dish. Submerge a sheet of rice paper into the water for about 5 seconds. It should be pliable but not floppy. Carefully lay it flat on your towel. Cover the lower third of the rice paper with a few pieces of the lettuce. Next, scatter a handful of the noodles and pile on the rest of the vegetables. Don't forget the herb mix. Fold the lower edge of the rice paper over the contents, rolling upwards until everything is closely packed. Now, fold over the short sides and roll it upward until wrapped. That's one! And that, my friends, is a wrap. To keep them fresh for 1 to 2 hours, store them under a slightly damp, lint-free towel at room temperature. Not in the fridge because low temperatures will harden the rice wrap. I hope the food preparation skills we went over today will encourage you to eat more healthily. That is, to eat as much color as possible in the form of vegetables and fruit. These colorful rice wraps we made today are vegan and gluten-free. If you would like to beef up the protein content, feel free to incorporate any protein of choice. Shrimp and tofu are wonderful options. A little fruit also wouldn't hurt anyone. Starfruit is a popular addition to traditional Vietnamese spring rolls. Heck, you could even make these spring rolls entirely out of fruit, although I think that would call for another video. Again, it is entirely up to you. Just remember to eat the rainbow.